What is up, everyone? James Baek here. Welcome back to another episode of VGC 17 Back-to-Back Battles. Yes, it has been a few days and I'm still not at my greatest condition. So the reason why I haven't been basically on at all is the fact that I don't know, it was either like really bad clams or it was like a stomach virus going around, because I know my family is also a bit sick too. So I don't know which is the specific case, because the clams to me tasted a bit funny. Yet we got like a stomach virus at a different time, so I don't know what's going on, but I finally feel good enough to record. I took a break from Easter to see some friends and family. I hope everyone had a happy Easter as well, to those who celebrate it. I don't really celebrate it as a holiday, but it's nice to see like a bunch of friends and stuff. So today we are back with more QR code teams, because I still don't have a team yet, and it's still the week of QR code teams. We have a team that reached 2,000 on Battle Spot at Season 2. So this is Milotic, Marowak, Crocodile, Celesteela, Kartana, and a Scarf Tapu Koko, which is very interesting. We're going to be hitting up the ladder 3 games. I don't think I have any experience with this team. However, I did ladder up a bit. Well, not really ladder. It was more like Saturday was a PC and I was struggling what to use, so I tested some stuff and ended up winning that Premier Challenge with a team I built out of my box, because I ended up losing to Pheromosa Snorlax. So I decided, hey, let's use Pheromosa Snorlax at the PC, and yeah, that's basically how that went. So I actually won that PC, which was pretty nice. Probably not, I ended up losing my Pheromosa in Hack Check though, because I wrote something on the team sheet wrong. Well, it wasn't really wrong. It was more like they couldn't read it. So that was a bit unfortunate, but I still ended up pulling up the win. But Pheromosa would have made my games a lot easier. 1749 or 59 from Canada, I believe. Blue with the Mimikyu, Tapu Fini, Kartana, Snorlax, Arcanine, and Goodra. So if I remember correctly, geez, what's with the green screen? Okay, so this is an interesting team because, okay, so we got Mimikyu and Mimikyu Snorlax combination, AFK, and Goodra, which is interesting. Milotic is pretty good. This team is actually pretty weird, the team I'm using, but Double Steel when Arcanine is the most popular Pokemon. But I do have Milotic, which is like super helpful. So I think I want to lead Milotic, because I think Milotic's just solid overall. And Koko can do well. I just don't know what hidden power it is. Does it carry a hidden power? I actually don't really remember looking at the team. No, it has discharge. Okay. So how do I want to plan this? I want to go Milotic Kartana, since I think it's pretty solid against my opponent's team. Celesteela does a lot of work. So does Marowak. I think Marowak I want. And I like Crocodile because Intimidate's pretty helpful against my opponents. So I'm going to bring Crocodile. Also, I believe Crocodile's my Z move. I got to double check the QR team. Let me just check. Yes, this is the Groundium Z Crocodile. And I need something that can really threaten the Snorlax right off the bat. So I'm guessing this is like a Belly Drum Snorlax, because that's what they usually run on Mimikyu Snorlax cores. But we'll see. Milotic Kartana will take the field, as we're going to see Mimikyu and Arcanine. Perfect. We get the boost with our Milotic straight away, so we're already going to have our competitive boost, which is really nice right here, because it allows me to do a lot of damage and knock out this Arcanine with this Skulls, which is pretty solid. We do have Focus Sash on Kartana. I don't know, my opponent could go for Willis, but risking Arcanine against Double Steel when it's my opponent's best answer to Celesteela doesn't seem correct to me. So I think I'm going to go for a double up into Mimikyu, because Mimikyus don't really carry Protect. And also this Arcanine's got to be threatened, at least feel pressure from the Milotic. So I feel like Arcanine might want to switch out. It got the Intimidate, but oh wow, it actually stays in. So I could have got a knockout. But this is still fine, because Arcanine only threatens the Kartana. And Milotic's going to do a lot of damage right here, so I'm okay. This is a Z move coming out from my opponent. Okay, Infernal Overdrive from my opponent, which makes sense. Most likely he's trying to scout if I was going to go for Protect. or catch any switch in that I had. And I believe I didn't exactly bring a switch in, so I'm actually glad because Kartana will use its focus dash, which is alright for me. However, I do have to be wary. If Mimikyu goes for Trick Room here, Shadow Sneak is a potential option for my opponent. My opponent going to bring down the Kartana down to its focus dash here. As Mimikyu looks like it's going for Trick Room, we're going to get a Scald off, which is going to do a good amount at +2. No burn, but Trick Room does go up successfully. E-Speed also from Arcanine I forgot to mention as well as a possible play, but I feel like we're in a pretty good position here. Milotic's just putting on so much offensive pressure. Slower than Arcanine. I can just go for a Scald into Mimikyu because I think Mimikyu's a threat. And I think I could go out into my Marowak. Yeah, I think Marowak's a play because I feel like Marowak, one, it doesn't take damage from extreme speed. Two, I get to conserve Intimidate because I feel like Intimidate might be more useful against like a Snorlax. And also the fact that my opponent decides to hard switch into the Snorlax, Marowak can do a pretty good job against it. And if I get rid of Mimikyu, it's a huge way that my opponent hits the Marowak on my side down. So, gonna get rid of my Kartana, save it because Sacred Sword might be helpful if it's like Curselax or if I'm able to bring the Snorlax down later. Extreme Speed into the Marowak. And we're actually faster than the Mimikyu in Trick Room, so get the knockout with Scald, and that's already a good position. Arcanine's faster than my Milotic normally, so in Trick Room, Milotic will outspeed and knock out this Arcanine. So we're in a very solid position here. Let's see what my opponent decides to bring out next. Probably Tapu Fini if my opponent has Tapu Fini in the back. We've only seen Arcanine Mimikyu from my opponent's side. Snorlax is going to come out, makes complete sense. Again, Arcanine can't do much unless it carries like a Wall Charge, but even then, like my opponent can't click Wall Charge because of my Lightning Rod, so either way, this Arcanine shouldn't be able to do anything. Even if it has Snarl, let's say, that would increase my special attack from Milotic by 1 stage because of competitive. So I think I'm going to sub here because I feel like I get a pretty free sub unless Snorlax goes for the high horsepower. As Arcanine's going to withdraw and probably into Tapu Fini. Yep, Tapu Fini is going to come out. I don't mind this play because I get a sub up, and let's see what my opponent's Snorlax does. Is it going to be like a Belly Drum, a Curse? It's just going to go straight for the high horsepower. Into the Marowak. We should survive pretty comfortably. Yes, we do. So we're going to get a substitute, and this substitute is very important. The reason why this substitute is very important is because now the Scald damage should put Snorlax in the range. Oh, wow. Okay, we get a crit. I actually really didn't want that crit. What I was going for was going for the Scald and the Snorlax. Because Snorlax is not a Pokemon that usually carries Protect, and if it did, there was no reason for Snorlax to Protect right there. It would probably just go for damage, but the reason I went for the Scald is because I want to put in Flare Blitz range, and now I don't think I can do that comfortably, because it will survive the Flare Blitz, and probably can go for Recycle here. That's a bit annoying, but I can't really touch the Fini, but the Fini really can't touch me unless it's Calm Mind, of course. I feel like I could go for Shadow Bone pretty comfortably on the Snorlax's Recycle. I'm going to hope that he tries to Recycle here. He does try to Recycle, which is pretty good for me, actually. Because I do put it at the range, unless I get another crit, under the berry and puts it in Kartana's Sacred Sword range. Shadow Bone's going to hit the Fini for some really good damage. Scald is going to come out and do 40% to the Snorlax, 30-40, something like that. Yep. Muddy Water. It does connect with my Pokemon. Accuracy drop would be, you know, kind of like a double-edged sword, because if it gets the accuracy drop on my Milotic, I do get the competitive boost, but missing Scald would be a problem. Alright. We're in a pretty okay position here, I feel like. Snorlax has not set up at all in the game yet, so we are sitting pretty comfortably. A Trick Room we have. This is the last turn of Trick Room actually, so what I could do is I could sack my Marowak and try to get in my Kartana, and I feel like that's what I want to do. My opponent could just go for high horsepower, or might try to set up Snorlax. So what I'm actually going to do is Scald the Tapu Fini just to put in the range of -1 Leaf Blade, because I'm not exactly comfortable with the Leaf Blade calc if it's like Bold Tapu Fini. And I'm going to go for the Flare Blitz into the Snorlax, I think. Yes. I don't need Marowak anymore, and Flare Blitz will knock out Snorlax if it tries to set up, unless it's maybe a curse. But if it is a curse, then again, I always have my Kartana. So we're just going to see the knockout with high horsepower. Completely alright. Scald's going to come out, do some decent damage to this Tapu Fini, pretty good amount. That puts it in the Leaf Blade range 100%. Calm Mind's going to set up, but that's alright because we do have our Kartana, as I said before. And Kartana is a Pokemon that's going to put in the work right here. So, let's see what my opponent decides to do next turn. It is Leftovers Tapu Fini that we did confirm earlier. And I could go into Crocodile, but I'd rather go into Kartana because I think Kartana just puts on more offensive presence. It outspeeds both my opponent's Pokemon. Crocodile does the same thing, but to threaten knockout, I need to use Tectonic Rage. Not exactly the best idea. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see Arcanine switch into one of the slots, but I don't know. You might try to say Tapu Fini, but Tapu Fini's got boosts, but it can't live a -1 Leaf Blade from the range it's at. So I don't know what he's going to decide to switch out. He could also try to switch out the Tapu Fini slot into the Arcanine to try to save Snorlax. I think best place is Sacred Sword, the Snorlax, and Scald because Snorlax is not a Pokemon that carries Protect. We're going to see the Protect from the Tapu Fini. I guess my opponent's going to try to get rid or double up into my Kartana slot. But the Sacred Sword knocks out Snorlax, so either way, not sure if that was the correct play. Maybe my opponent was fearing the Scald double up, which I did go for, obviously, because it was my best play. But getting rid of Snorlax was huge. I went for Sacred Sword Scald into Snorlax because Snorlax most likely had Curse or Belly Drum as the last move, so it didn't carry Protect. It was a very free double up, so either you lose Snorlax, or let's say Arcanine came into the Fini slot. I would basically put in the range where it has to recycle again in order to live, or it gets knocked out by like a Scald next turn. So either way, I had the game planned up. Intimidate's going to be forced to bring my Milotic to +4. And I can now go for Scald into the Arcanine. And I might as well just save my Kartana because it guaranteed knocks out the Fini. I'll go into my Crocodile, sack it, get the Intimidate off. So in case this Arcanine does have Wall Charge, which would probably be the only way my opponent can knock out the Milotic is a double up with Wall Charge plus Moonblast. But the Tapu Fini's only at +1, so we should be able to live a Wild Charge combined with the Moonblast since we're Citrus Berry. Or maybe the Wild Charge won't even bring us down to our Citrus Berry. Let's see. We might see Extreme Speed here. We are just going to see Protect. That's fine. Depends on what this Tapu Fini decides to do. It's going to go for the Moonblast, and it's probably going to target down Milotic, actually. I don't like how my thing is looking because it looks like it's lagging. I'm hoping it's not lagging. But my 3DS does look like it's lagging. Mist is going to disappear from the battlefield. And Arcanine already protected. I have a very safe play just to go for Scald into the Arcanine slot. And I guess I could just Tectonic Rage the Fini slot because either way, let's say my opponent tries to go for a double protect with Arcanine. And then Fini gets some momentum by going for a Muddy Water, gets my accuracy drop. I could lose the game. So I'm just going to try to get a knockout because if my opponent double protects, it's basically worthless. Positioning wise, he needs to get some kind of momentum up, but he's not even going to go for a double protect, so we get the Tectonic Rage off. That should finish off the Fini and should seal up the game. Yep, as Tapu Fini does go down, let's see what the Arcanine goes for. Maybe a Wild Charge. Will-O-Wisp actually is going to come out into my Crocodile, which is alright because the Scald will finish off the Arcanine, and that will be a good game to my opponent. So yeah, it looks like it's lagging. I don't know about you guys. I think I'm going to try to fix that for next episode, but I don't know. It might just be me. It might just be me, to be honest. Because I'm not exactly feeling 100%, but I hope you guys can get through. I don't think I made any bad plays there. I feel like the game plan was pretty much to get rid of Mimikyu, have Marowak to put on some decent pressure while Arcanine wasn't doing anything, and then save Kartana and Crocodile for the endgame once Trick Room was over so I could start sweeping with my boosted Milotic plus them on the field to handle whatever Milotic couldn't touch. So I feel like we had the game in a pretty solid fashion. So, okay, what should I talk about? Oh yeah, I did want to ask you people, what did you think of playing Pokemon as like more of a childhood game, like not competitive wise, because that's what I normally do on the channel is competitive content, but like I'm talking about like just playing through the game normally. I'm talking about through the story mode and all that, because I really have enjoyed playing Pokemon. Like in general, I just really like the story. Pokemon was a huge part of my childhood, but I really don't remember just going back and replaying games. Like, if anyone has done that, like, I love replaying games sometimes. I replay a lot of games, but Pokemon was never really one of them, except maybe like Gen 4, because Generation 4 was probably the most I went back to a game and actually replayed it. But I've actually gone back while I was sick because I wasn't really doing anything. I couldn't exactly record. I couldn't really set up anything because I felt like I would mess it up. So I went back, got my Pokemon Black cart from, like, I don't know where I found it, but okay. I'll continue the story once we finish this team. I didn't even get to see team preview, to be honest. We're going to see Hariyama, Hypno, Magnezone, Arcanine, Porygon 2, and the Araquanid. This seems pretty okay for me because I could just lead Milotic, Crocodile, because it's very solid. Marowak in the back. I don't think I need Kartana. I'm just going to go Celesteela because I think Celesteela can just do a lot of work in this game. Hypno, probably, I would imagine it's the Z move on Hypno. Remember the Executor that we used back? If anyone is new, if you haven't checked the Alola Form Executor VGC 17 videos where I built that team, it was a very fun team. But it was Z Trick Room Executor, and Hypno is more better for the case, I guess, because you do get Hypnosis. Well, actually, Executor also gets Hypnosis, so I just used Sleep Powder because I wasn't exactly sure how accurate Hypnosis was under gravity, or +1 accuracy. So we're gonna see the Hariyama Porygon 2, which is a very solid lead. It's a very standard solid lead against my Crocodile Milotic. I do get the Intimidate off into my opponent, which is all right, as we will get the Intimidate. And okay. So I feel like this, okay, Porygon 2 gets the special attack drop. I was actually hoping Milotic, with the massive special defense it has, would give an attack boost. So this is pretty, like, not the best situation. My opponent's guaranteed to trick him up, but I can go for Toxic right here into the Porygon 2, and I guess I could go for Taunt. But I feel like what's better is just to head into Celesteela right away, because I feel like getting to Celesteela allows me to have some more offensive pressure against the Hariyama. I already got the Intimidate off. I think you want to fake out Crocodile because it could go for Tectonic Rage, do a lot of damage to the Hariyama, or Taunt the Porygon 2, unless you're fearing Roar from Milotic for some reason. I believe Milotic gets Roar, so I'm pretty sure you target down the Crocodile though because of Taunt or Tectonic Rage strat. So gonna bring out my Celesteela. I'm most likely to fake out from the Hariyama. Actually goes into Milotic, so I could have actually just went for the attack into the Porygon 2. Not a big deal, but that's not that great for me. As Flame Orb is gonna activate from the Hariyama, I think I just wanna, okay, this Porygon 2 is gonna be a very, very annoying Pokemon to deal with. So I do want to Toxic it right away, but I do just want to Double Protect here. I think Double Protecting is the smart call, because as much as I want to get the Toxic damage right away, I feel like this is the best play possible because I don't know what my opponent's going to do. If my opponent goes into Magnezone, that's a fantastic play on my opponent's part. But I feel like it's not the end of the world if that's the case. I want to see what kind of Porygon 2 it is if my opponent decides to stay in and go maybe for like a Thunderbolt, let's say, and Hariyama goes for close combat. I want to see what slots my opponent targets, or if Magnezone decides to come in. Because if Magnezone comes in, I go straight out into my Marowak no matter what. So my opponent's going to stay in with both. I really doubt my opponent makes a Feint play. I know Feint is an option from Hariyama, but I really doubt you go for it in this situation. It's really not necessary, as Knockoff is going to come out into my Milotic slot, and a Thunderbolt is going to come out into my Milotic slot. So that's a bit annoying because my Milotic beats the Arcanine I'm pretty sure my opponent has in the back. But yeah, I'm pretty sure my opponent's just going to make be adamant to make the exact same play. So what I'm going to do actually is just Toxic the Porygon 2. And I kind of just want to get damage. I could go for a Leech Seed, but I want damage on the Hariyama, especially if my opponent's not attacking me yet. I don't need to go for Leech Seed, to be honest, because Leech Seed is going to get me very little recovery and very little damage on the Hariyama. Well, Heavy Slam is probably going to do about at least 40%, so I'd rather get the Heavy Slam off, especially since my opponent could just switch out next turn because it is -1 Hariyama. Knockoff is not going to do too much to my Milotic, so that's the reason why. I'm going to be very upset because a play my opponent could make is go out into Porygon 2 on the Toxic. Or because you might want to get Magnezone in, but no, just going to go for the knockoff. And a Thunderbolt, even that +1 shouldn't do too much. Ice Beam is actually going to come out, target down my Milotic, predicting a switch into Crocodile most likely, which makes sense. But I didn't think he would do that because I didn't think... I don't think I would ever risk a close combat hitting my Crocodile slot because you could just close combat Thunderbolt, to be honest. So get the Toxic off on the Porygon 2. That's huge. Putting that Porygon 2 on a timer is so big, especially since it carries Thunderbolt, Ice Beam. It can Toxic back. I can recover following turns. Trick Room. There are 2 turns left. Ooh. So since my opponent already knocked off my Milotic, I don't think you're going to knock off my Milotic again. Unless you really expect a Marowak switch. Then I give my opponent props. But I think I'm going to go for another... Do I want to weaken the Porygon 2? Or do I just want to Leech Seed the Porygon 2? Try to get as much residual damage as possible. Because I already have Hariyama at the range where I kind of want it with the next Flame Orb. And if it goes for close combat again into my Celesteal slot, then I'm in a very nice situation. So hard into Marowak here on the close combat, which is going to go out into the Marowak slot. And the Thunderbolt, oh boy, we're making reads. And it actually targeted down my Celesteal. Oh boy, this is perfect. This is actually perfect. Leech Seed, well, we can't win everything. I'm kind of content with that Leech Seed because I don't really gain too much from it. So I guess that's alright for me. As right here, I guess my opponent can't Thunderbolt the Celesteal slot. So I'm in a very nice situation no matter what. And this is the last turn of Trick Room. I can just go for a Heavy Slam. I guess I could Leech Seed right here to Hariyama, but at the worst, I would only take a close combat, so I don't think that's exactly worth it. Although Hariyama does have a large HP stat, and if he does go for close combat, he'll be in range of the Heavy Slam anyway, and there is a potential my opponent could switch in Arcanine here. We're going to see Hariyama withdraw, probably Arcanine. Yeah, good play by my opponent, recognizing that, but Arcanine really shouldn't be able to touch my Marowak, so either way, I think we're okay in this position. Marowak going to protect right here. Very safe play, as Ice Beam's going to fire off, probably into the Celesteela just to get a bit of chip, but the chip is not really going to help my opponent. We're going to Leech Seed, and every time this Arcanine is going to be taking recoil damage, so I'm content with that. I'm very content with that. Okay, so we get the recovery, so now Celesteal is at a pretty good amount of HP. I could also switch out my Milotic, which is what I'm going to do next turn, because really, Celesteal doesn't exactly have a spot here. My opponent can't wall charge, so it's a very safe play. I could go for sub here with Marowak, since my opponent cannot threaten the Marowak at all. Ice Beam's not going to do anything. You can't Thunderbolt with my Lightning Rod. So it's just hard in Milotic. The worst that the Arcanine could do, I guess, is Snarl, but then I get the competitor's special attack boost, so no matter what, I'm in a very good position. I'm guessing maybe a double out because the Leech Seed or the Toxic damage is going to be adding up, so I can definitely see a double, but I get a free substitute otherwise, and I think Substitute Marowak is a very good Pokemon because Marowak just forces a lot of these situations with the bulkier teams, and it can get a free substitute up. So let's see what my opponent's going to do. I would assume Arcanine would switch out, but if that's the case, I can always recover the following turn. And I always have the Shadow Bone threatening the Hariyama if it decides to come in. Let's see. It looks like the Arcanine's not switching out, so maybe the Porygon 2? Or maybe it's just going to set up a Trick Room, maybe go for an Ice Beam. Arcanine's going to protect. Very interesting play. Are we going to see a Trick Room? Well, we get Substitute up. I'm guessing Trick Room's coming out. Yeah, it's Trick Room. Okay. So, I'm pretty content with that because, yes, I am -1 behind this cell, but, I mean, Marowak does so much damage no matter what. So, either way, we're in a very fantastic position. We do recover quite a bit with Milotic, but I think I kind of want to recover again, to be honest. I would like more recovery. Just for the late game, because I'm thinking about what my opponent could do in the late game. Luckily, my opponent's can't really do much. Like, you're really forced to use either your back Pokemon, which my opponent hasn't revealed yet, or has to rely on the Hariyama's knockoff to actually do damage to this Marowak. I just want to check my Marowak speed stat real quick, because I actually really don't know what it is. It's 65, so it's not. I think that's like adamant with like some speed, maybe a little. I'm just gonna Shadow Bone the Arcanine slot. I really doubt Arcanine stays in because it's a reliable answer to Celesteela, and I'm just gonna fire off a recover. I could Toxic the Arcanine slot, but again, Arcanine's not a threat, and I'm guessing Hariyama's gonna come in, or maybe Magnezone. So I think Toxic would be a pretty bad play, to be honest, into the Arcanine slot. We're gonna see Arcanine withdraw. I feel like you're forced to keep Arcanine around. Hariyama's gonna come out. This is pretty much the ideal situation. Shadow Bone plus the burn damage is gonna do a lot. My opponent's gonna recover with Porygon 2, which is alright, but you're still adding up a lot of damage. But I guess it was the best my opponent could do in this situation because Ice Beam wasn't gonna do anything. Shadow Bone into the Hariyama actually does less than I thought, as we do recover up with our Milotic. So very nice situation we're in. I do wish the Shadow Bone did more damage though. Maybe I should have just Scalded. Okay. I do kind of want my sub up for the rest of the game, to be honest. I do want to keep my Milotic around. This is a bit annoying. I do feel like my opponent's just going to knock off the Marowak slot, because you're forced to target down Marowak, right? But you're also forced to target down my Milotic because Arcanine is also a bit annoying. What do I want to do? Because I want to keep both of these around. I know what my opponent has in the back. Might be a Rockwanid. I think I'm going to Shadow Bone the Hariyama, and I really don't need Crocodile for my game plan. Or maybe I don't need Celesteela. Like, Celesteela doesn't do much. I'm actually going to sack Celesteela, because Celesteela does nothing. Like, Celesteela does absolutely nothing for my cause right now. So I'm going to switch out into my Celesteela, as knockoff is going to come out. I should have just Scalded and subbed again. That was the play I wanted to go for, but I wanted to keep my Milotic around because I think my Milotic's more helpful than Celesteela. Like, Celesteela doesn't do anything. Nice. No Ice Beam Freeze. Shadow Bone is going to come out into the Hariyama, and that's going to pick up the knockout. My opponent goes out in Magnezone. You're locked into Hidden Power Ground, most likely, if it's Specs. I think you would need Hidden Power Ground. Otherwise, if you had probably a Rockwanid in the back, I guess a Rockwanid's in the back. If a Rockwanid's in the back, I don't need Crocodile anymore, so I could just sack Crocodile because Marowak's more helpful. And this Porygon 2, as you can see, it's going to go down to Toxic if my opponent doesn't switch out or recover. So Arcanine's going to come back out. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't know how I feel about that play because, again, yes, Intimidate is a factor onto Marowak, but it's not doing much. But, like, Arcanine plus Porygon 2, what are you going to do to this Marowak? I guess I could just Shadow Bone the Arcanine. Again, I could go out on my Milotic, and it's a very free play for me. Like, is my opponent going to switch out Porygon 2 into Magnezone? I guess. But you still have to threaten Marowak somehow, so I don't know. Maybe this Arcanine has Bulldoze, but you can't really do that when my Milotic switch in. My Milotic switch in is, like, so obvious, right? So I feel like my opponent's just putting him or herself in a very bad position. So, gonna get my Milotic. So let's see what my opponent's gonna do. Ice Beam gonna fire off into my oh, it's gonna be the Marowak, which is okay. I don't think you have anything that can knock me out, Arcanine, unless you have Crunch. That would be a really weird option. No, it's just Flare Blitz. Probably gonna go into the Marowak slot. No, it's in the Milotic slot. Okay. Again, I don't know what my opponent's doing. Toxic is gonna, yeah, pick up the knockout Porygon 2. And now my opponent's in a really bad situation. Unless it has Hypno in the back, there's no Trick Room. And even then, like, what does Hypno do? Does it have, like, Psychic, Dream Eater? I don't know. Magnezone is gonna come out. And I don't think you can touch Marowak. There's one turn of Trick Room left. I guess I'll just stall it out. And Crocodile just went in the back anyway, which is why I kind of was hesitating. Do I sack Celesteela or do I sack Crocodile? Because I would sack Celesteela if it was the Magzone in the back because Crocodile's more valuable. I would sack Crocodile if it was the Rockman in the back because I think Celesteela does more. So I'm just going to double protect here. We're going to see a Helping Hand. So this is Helping Hand Discharge. Like, jeez. I feel bad for my opponent if that's the case. But, going to double protect just to scout. And also stall out this last turn Trick Room. It's going to be the Flash Cannon. It's going to target down my Marowak slot, which is fair. Trick Room is going to return to normal. And I don't need Milotic. Marowak's more helpful in the end game. I just sack Celesteela since Celesteela doesn't do anything anymore, and I can just Scald the Arcanine. I can't see like another play from my opponent. I don't think you go for Thunderbolt because Marowak's on the field. Obviously, I think you have to double up Marowak with like I don't know, Flash Cannon, Flare Blitz. My opponent doesn't have Hidden Power Ground, or maybe my opponent does, and it specs and locks itself to Flash Cannon. Flare Blitz gonna come out, target down probably my Celesteela. Yep. But again, I was sacking Celesteela anyway. It was really not necessary for this end game, as Celesteela is going to go down, as this Arcanine is going to take a lot of recoil. Eat up its berry, which is probably one of the super berries. Yep. And let's see. The Skull should pick up the knockout. Or we'll put it in range of Earthquake at least. Yeah, that's a bulky Arcanine. Okay. And Flash Cannon's going to come out, target down my Milotic. But again, I could go back into Marowak. I could just play around with my opponent because Crocodile literally wins the game. But I'll go into Marowak here because if my opponent does have Sturdy on Magstone, because we didn't confirm its ability. It's either Sturdy or the other. I'm just going to go for Sub here. Or I could just protect Marowak because what can these Pokemon really do to me? I'm just going to protect and Arcanine might protect here as well, so I'm just going to Scald the Magzone. It breaks its Sturdy anyway, and then my Crocodile should just be able to win the game. Since that Arcanine has quite a bit of bulk investment, I really doubt it's faster than my Crocodile in the first place. Also, I'm pretty sure this Crocodile's max speed. I don't know if it's Jolly or Adamant though, because I didn't check its speed stat. But man, this is actually a pretty long episode, not going to lie. I think I'm just going to cut it at 2 games, to be honest, because I feel like we're playing it's been a pretty long episode already. Flare Blitz going to go on to Marowak. And the Scald going to come out and target down this Magzone. Does actually quite a bit of damage. Oh, that's a critical hit. That's why. And we get the burn. Again, just Salt in the Wound. My opponent can't do anything. As we see the Flash Cannon into the Marowak. As you can tell, I'm bored because we already had this game locked up. So I'll just go for the Shadow Bone into the Magnezone and a Scald, and that would be a good game to my opponent. But yeah, what was the question I was saying earlier? Right, so when I was sick, I ended up playing Pokemon Black, and I'm still playing through it actually. I got to the 4th gym, and oh man, I really loved 4th and 5th gen. Like 4th and 5th gen, I feel like is where Pokemon starts to shine for me, because 4th gen was my first game. Like 4th gen, Pokemon Pearl was my first game. Well, my first Pokemon game that I owned. I did play like Fire Red over like my friend's house, but like my first gaming system was a DS Lite. Yeah, DS Lite. Pokemon Pearl was the first Pokemon game I owned, and I really just enjoyed everything about 4th gen. It was really fun. Everything, the anime, the characters, the games itself, the competitive battling. It was just so much fun for me. As we see the Thunderbolt. Okay. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. So I love 5th gen. Like, I haven't played 5th gen like ever since it really came out, and I haven't really replayed it. So I went back, and I'm playing through Pokemon Black right now, and I'm really enjoying it. If you people do enjoy the main series, tell me what your favorite of the generations are for games to replay are, because I really have been enjoying 5th gen. Like, going back, I really enjoyed it. Like, I loved the Pokemon because I love using, like, I was using Herdier from, I'm just going to say Lillipup, the Herdier family. Oshawott was my starter. And I'm using, like, my 3rd Pokemon, Sandile, which is now Krokorok. But yeah, it's just been a really fun game to replay, and I'm kind of enjoying it because I haven't really been before Sun and Moon, I really hadn't enjoyed like playing the main story Pokemon. I was kind of a bit bored at the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Like Pokemon X and Y was okay. Like it introduced some mechanics which were cool, but like the story itself was like kind of average for me. So I really enjoyed like replaying 5th gen. So I don't know. But anyway, hope everyone enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please leave a like down below. It might be a bit boring. I don't know. Tell me what you think. If it's lagging, please let me know, because that is something that's been kind of driving me for a while, because I don't know if it's lagging or not. I can't tell. But anyway, hope if you enjoyed. Answer the question, which I already said. Which of the Pokemon games or generations you enjoyed replaying the most? Otherwise, I think that's it. You can check me out on my social medias if you want to try the QR code teams down below. Go check them out. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it. See you around in another episode.